Let's start.
No, I'm Jameson Timba, the Deputy Secretary General of the MDC Alliance.
After the Supreme Court ruling, can you take us through from where we were and after the Supreme Court ruling for the MDC?
I think let me start by saying that as a party we have been nursing two patients since our Congress in Gweru in May, in the name of Senators Douglas Munzora and Morgan Comich. The two gentlemen participated at our Congress in Gweru and lost. They have, over the years, expressed their intention to lead our organization, but we're a democratic party, and their intentions and ambitions were put before the party, and they lost. They've now accepted and realized that they can't lead our movement, and they've now then entered into a coalition of evil with Zanu-PF, whose intention is to destabilize the party and give an advantage to Zanu-PF, and therefore deny the people of Zimbabwe the change that they seek. This is the context that we are dealing with. The second issue that we are dealing with as a movement is that if you look at the leadership of Zanu-PF, 90% of that leadership, come the next election, will either be using walking sticks and or the aid of wheelchairs. And they cannot fathom a situation where they have to face Nelson Chamisa and his energetic young team in an electoral contest. So what do they then do? Naturally, came to disgruntled members of the party, Senators Munzora and Morgan Comich, persuaded them to join a coalition of evil, where they can be party to the circus that is happening at Poland, get some stipends, have an opportunity to travel using resources that should be committed to the fight against COVID. This is the political context that we are dealing with.
Okay, so what's your personal reading of the Supreme Court ruling which was given a few days ago?
There was a ruling by the Supreme Court. Our political formation, the MDC Alliance, is not party or was not party to those proceedings. The order that has been given by the Supreme Court does not bind the MDC Alliance because it was not party to those proceedings. As a party, we had our Congress in May at Ascot Stadium, and we elected our leadership.
Okay, so can you explain to me the difference between MDC Alliance and MDCT?
Okay. The difference is that in 2014, at our Congress, in 2014, the party made a resolution that we needed to expand our base. We needed to invite other political formations to grow the movement. We also needed to achieve what we were calling then national convergence. And if you recall, and if you go back to the public record, our former president, Tsvangirai, campaigned under the banner of a big tent. And that big tent concept was to bring as many political formations as possible to grow the movement for democratic change. And it is within that context that we then started a process of building an alliance by bringing in other political formations. That marked the genesis of the formation of the MDC Alliance. When we then got some political parties who were willing to establish this formation, this grand formation of political parties, we then entered into an agreement. That agreement in the first instance was an electoral pact. But before the elections, a key decision was then made by the principals to that alliance. And that key decision was that let's integrate. So the integration then led to the formation of the MDC Alliance, culminating into the Congress that we then held in Gweru.
Okay, same. So this means that MDC Alliance is now a party. So after the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court judgment will not affect MDC Alliance.
The Supreme Court judgment does not affect the MDC Alliance.
And what's the life after for MDCT? Because you're also a member of MDCT.
No, I cannot speak for the MDCT, which is led by Thokozani Kupe. As you are aware, in April of 2018, if my memory serves me right, MDCT under Kupe held their congress in Bulawayo. Yes. Okay? I am not, neither are we, members of that formation.
Okay, you as the Deputy SG of MDC Alliance, have you given yourself time to go through the Supreme Court ruling, and what's your take on the ruling, and how is it going to shape the shape of MDC?
I've read the whole document. I've read the whole judgment. And as I indicated earlier on, we are not party to those proceedings. If you look at page 33 of that judgment, the lawyers representing the front was used by Senator Monzora and Kupe to mount various court challenges. The lawyers themselves, in that ruling, and it's in black and white, said before the judge that Advocate Chamisa was elected as president of the MDC Alliance. Look at page 33 of that judgment, confirming the point that we are making, and that the issues that they are raising have got nothing to do with the MDC Alliance.
See, I'm not getting. There's something which I think I'm missing. I'm missing it. You're talking of the difference between MDC Alliance and MDCT. There's a difference between the two parties, and the ruling is saying that Mr. Chamisa is no longer the lead of MDCT. As some they would call that he was the lead of. There were two MDCTs. MDCT, which was led by Thokozani Kupe, and can you shed more light? Maybe I'm lost on that one.
There were no two MDCTs.
Before the election, so the first time before the elections, which case took you to court when you were for the name of going to the elections?
There was the movement for democratic change. And then there was MDCT, which was being led by Thokozani Kupe.
Okay. And after that...
what we now have is MDCT led by Thokozani Kupe and the MDC Alliance led by Advocate Nelson Chamisa.
Okay, after what happened, the Supreme Court ruling, have you gave yourself time to talk to Mr. Monzori and Mr. Komichi?
I'm not sure what you intend us to talk about.
They were part of MDC Alliance.
Yes. What has since happened is that they have disengaged from the MDC Alliance. And they are no longer, they've declared themselves non-members of the MDC Alliance. So there is no more political association between ourselves and Senators Monzora and Komichi.
So the relationship is just cancelled all of a sudden.
If you look at our constitution as the MDC Alliance, if a member supports another political formation, they are automatically expelled from the party. So there's no engagement. Senator Komichi and Senator Monzora are now supporting another political formation other than ours. And therefore, their membership with us is ceased automatically.
So this means that you're going to be challenging for them to be expelled from Parliament. They're going to be recalled from Parliament.
Those are processes which are subject to the discussions by the various organs of the party. But I've spoken to you about the first thing that has happened now in terms of our constitution. If you support another political party, you're automatically expelled. So they're currently now automatically expelled from the party. If it wasn't for the pandemic that we are all dealing with, now our various organs of the party will be meeting to determine the way forward.
But do you see it fair during this time of lockdown, COVID time, for the Supreme Court to pull out the judgment?
We were shocked, to say the least. That is after the announcement by the Chief Justice that such is not going to happen. Then, in the middle of a lockdown, the whole country has been asked to stay at home, and then the Supreme Court comes to hand down a judgment. We are at a loss as to why they did that.
What do you think is going on? What do you think that the government wants to show? What do you think that the courts want to show after giving up the ruling of during the COVID time?
I would say that for me it is an act of irresponsibility by any government agency that after government, through a lawful process, have declared a disaster, and subsequent to that, they've locked the country and asked everybody else to go home.
Okay, there's been an issue about MDC assets. Can you shed more light? What assets does the MDC have, and what assets does the MDC Alliance have? Talking of buildings, cars, and whatever.
You would want me to give you our asset listing? Please just wait. The organization is currently going through its audit, and as promised by our Treasurer General, we will be publishing our audit results and our audit report, and that asset listing will be in the public domain.
And is MDC Alliance guided by the principles of constitutionalism?
Yes, it is. This is why we went to Gweru to elect our leadership.
And say, Mr. Monzora and Mr. Komichi, were they at your Congress?
And lost. Yes, Mr. Monzora and Mr. Komichi.
Do you think that they are bitter?
It is quite obvious. I can say to you and probably confide in you that we have been counseling, particularly Senator Morgan Komichi, after his loss. He really wanted to be the vice president of the MDC Alliance. And after his loss, I recall talking to him, he lost about 15 kgs of weight post that loss. And we've been engaging with him and counseling him to understand that this is democracy. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. His bitterness is there for everyone to see, but I sometimes actually empathize with him. You will find out that immediately post our Congress, I had to speak to one of our vice presidents to be understanding, because he would walk into our meeting rooms. We sit according to protocol, and the president sits with his vice presidents. Honorable Komichi will go and sit on one of the seats of the vice presidents. So I had to talk to one of our vice presidents to understand, please, when you see him sitting there, just let him go. We have been counseling Honorable Komichi. He didn't take well the defeat that took place at ASCON.
And there are rumors that they've been going to bed with Zanu-PF.
They are not rumors, they are a fact. This is the coalition of evil that I made reference to. They are not rumors. They've been working with Zanu-PF. Now they intend to go and join Toko in Poland to get some allowances, promises of travel, etc., when the country needs all its resources to fight COVID. These gentlemen have decided to betray the people of Zimbabwe, to delay change by jumping into bed with forces of evil.
But why are they doing this from your own point of view?
I think they are tired of the struggle. They want to cash in on the struggle. They want to abandon the people of Zimbabwe who are yearning for democratic change. Now it is about them as individuals. It is about position as individuals.
Yesterday, Mr. Komichi was here, and he said that Advocate Tabarimpoff misled Advocate Chamisa, saying that after he had lost the first High Court judgment, he told him that he had seen 11 loopholes from the judgment, and he wanted to proceed to challenge the judgment in the Supreme Court. What's your take on that one?
I think Honorable Komichi, as I indicated, he has been going through very difficult times and moments as an individual, arising out of the loss that I'm talking about. His understanding of issues have been diminished because of his inability to handle loss through a democratic process.
So is the party getting the right legal advice? or the best legal advice in these current times after from the High Court drama up to today?
We have the best of the legal advice that we can ask for. And as I indicated, the MDC Alliance was not party to the proceedings at the Supreme Court. The MDC Alliance continues with its activities.
But it was Mr. Chamisa who took the issue to the Supreme Court. Why was he taking the issue to the Supreme Court if he was not part of the...
If you take a look at the judgment, either the High Court or even at the Supreme Court, if you read it carefully, you will see that there is confusion, in my view, with the judiciary, for them to appreciate differences between various political formations. They are using them interchangeably. At one time they are saying MDCT, then they say MDC, then they say MDC Alliance. These are separate formations. But there is confusion in the judiciary. We could not take the risk of anything standing in the way of our Congress that wanted to hold in Gweru, hence the appeal.
Okay, my question is saying, why did Advocate Chamisa challenge the issue in the Supreme Court?
I've just indicated to you that it is my view, and the view of others within the party, that there is confusion in the judiciary on the political formations, where they mistake MDCT with MDC Alliance. As a result of that confusion, we did not want to take the risk of anything standing in the way of the planned Congress of the MDC Alliance in Gweru, hence the appeal. The appeal was to remove any obstacles, any legal obstacles to the process that we intend to conduct at Ascot Stadium.
Is there bad blood between Mr. Chamisa and Mr. Manzolo?
There is no, to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Chamisa is nothing personal against any of those two leaders. We've been working with them, and Mr. Chamisa has embraced every leader in the integrated MDC Alliance.
And there's been the issue of extraordinary Congress, because from what we all know, it's just news to me that everyone is now focused on MDC Alliance, while the Harvest House is formally to be used by MDC, MDCT, and everything, or a lot of things that you
the Sheikh building, the headquarters of our opponent, before 1987 was used by who?
It was used by who?
By Zanu. After 1987, it was used by who? By Zanu-PF. Somebody was posing a question to me, saying, but why were you celebrating 20 years? An anniversary of 20 years. Yes, we would celebrate it for the simple reason that the key components of the MDC Alliance are individual founding members of the MDC in 1999. The key components that you see in there of that alliance are founding members of the MDC in 1999. They therefore share that history and share that anniversary.
Okay, so there was someone who I was talking with before this show. He told me that why Mr. Chamisa must comply with the ruling and go to the Congress, and you will definitely win it. What's your take on that?
But have you read the order? The Supreme Court has not asked President Chamisa to do anything. If you read the order, he has ordered Zanu-PF to organize a special Congress, failure of which Morgan Committee to organize that same conference. That's what the order says. It has not asked Advocate Nelson Chamisa to do anything.
So what is Advocate Chamisa saying about this?
What should you say? Why should you say anything about something that does not concern him? The only people who should be talking about that order are Zanu-PF and Morgan Committee and their, should I say, planner, Douglas Monzolo.
So Mr. Monzolo is planning all this?
Yes. The persons that you see who have been taking the party at various stages to court are people who are identified by Senator Monzora. He drafts the papers for them, and he hides behind those people, betraying his colleagues within his own party because of his ambition. And his ambition has always been to lead our organization. But surely for you to lead, you need to be elected by people. And he has not been chosen. The person who was chosen is Advocate Nelson Chamisa.
I think for the past, let's say, 2 years from the Congress, Mr. Monzora was part of you. Why were you not telling him that you are betraying us?
There's several discussions that happen in organizations such as ours. On several occasions, we've engaged Senator Monzora about his conduct as a member of the party. You will notice that in the last election, he signed for double candidates in 38 constituencies. And when you look back now, looking at the context that I've told you about, this coalition of evil, would it be wrong for anybody to infer that it was at that stage that he started working with Zanu-PF, signing double candidates for the purpose of delaying change for the people of Zimbabwe?
After the death of Mr. Morgan Tsvangirai, what were the discussions in the first meeting? Because I definitely think that we need to go there before we go anywhere further from here. What were the discussions behind in that meeting, which has led us to where we are today? In the first meeting after the death of Morgan Tsvangirai.
After the death of President Tsvangirai, the National Council of the party, which is the highest policy-making body in between congresses, discussed the leadership question of the party and made a decision that President Chamisa should lead the party. That decision has not changed, and that decision remains so up to this point. And the next time that we will revisit the question of leadership of our party will be in 2024.
And the relationship between Mr. Chamisa going to MDC Alliance, coming from MDC-T, can you take me through that? Maybe someone who would know what it really meant.
We had an alliance agreement. The alliance agreement spoke to the issue of a presidential candidate. The parties to that alliance agreement agreed that Morgan Tsvangirai, by name, if you read the agreement, his name is in there, by name, will be the presidential candidate of the MDC Alliance. The agreement further said that in the event that he is incapacitated, dies or resigns, then the MDC-T will nominate another presidential candidate subject to the approval of the principals constituting the alliance. That agreement does not talk to a president of the alliance. I've heard somebody talking about then whoever is the president of the MDC-T then becomes the president of the alliance. That is nonsense. The agreement never talked about a president. It talked about a presidential candidate, and the two are different. And they said if the one is incapacitated, then the party which originally provided that candidate will provide another presidential candidate. And for argument's sake, that presidential candidate could have been anyone, not necessarily the president of the MDC.
Okay, can you share the details on how the alliance will proceed after the 2018 elections?
We made a decision to integrate. Before the 2018, we made a decision to integrate the parties, okay, to form the MDC Alliance. And then we went for the election.
Was Mr. Komichi and Mr. Monzora part of this?
Yes.
And what were they saying about it?
They agreed to it.
Yesterday they were saying that we didn't agree to anything.
No, they agreed to it. I can actually say that the meeting that resolved or that made the resolution for integration was chaired by Honorable Komichi. The minutes of that meeting were taken by Honorable Monzora, who was the secretary there. He took the minutes, was his colleague, chaired the meeting. Then we integrated.
Yesterday, Mr. Komich was here. He was seated where you were seated. I told Mr. Chamisa, together with other senior members of the party, that we need to follow the constitution.
See, as I said to you,
and you're saying that he checked the meetings.
He checked.
He's lying, he's telling the truth.
I can provide evidence. You can call me back, I'll bring the minutes to you of the meeting chaired by Honorable Komich. Our National Council, which made the resolution that we integrate, was chaired by Honorable Komich. The minutes of that meeting were drafted, recorded, under the supervision of Honorable Douglas Togaresei Monzor. That's why I said to you earlier on, we have been nursing these two gentlemen. They have not dealt with their loss at our Congress very well. They are carrying the burden of democracy. That sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And therefore, what you are dealing with here is pain. I was speaking to a psychologist who told me that, listen, you must empathize with your colleagues. They are going through the cycle of grief. One of them is at the stage of denial. The other one has now reached the stage of anger. But soon, they will reach the stage of reality. The reality out there is that they are now on their way into the political dustbin. That's where they're going. They've entered into a pact with the devil. They are eating with the devil against the wishes of the majority of Zimbabweans who yearn for change.
And last year we went for the 5th Congress.
Yes.
5th MDC Congress. And MDC Alliance, I think, doesn't have 5 years in existence.
I've made this point that Zanu-PF in 1987 merged with ZAP. Would you say that Zanu-PF does not celebrate its 55 years? Would you say that?
No.
You can't. I've said to you the key components of the MDC Alliance, they share a history. Those formations, or the members of those formations, are founding members of the MDC in 1999. And therefore, they share that history.
But some of the members, they split it. I guess first it was Honorable Niwe, and next it was Honorable BT, and
Honorable Scala.
Honorable Scala, and then they came in together. They came back
together. You are now making the point. These are people who started the movement together, isn't it?
Yes.
Separate, and then came back. Do they share the same history?
Yes, they share the same history.
So as a result, because they share that history, okay, they will celebrate the movement.
Okay, I really want to understand it from here. Say, you're confusing me. The relationship between MDCT and MDC Alliance. Are you a member of MDC?
I'm a member of the MDC Alliance, which is now the formation that we established.
So have you resigned from MDCT?
No, but we integrated. We integrated formations to create one. So I cannot be a member of, I was reading it somewhere, that Zanu-PF, yes, is a member of a party that she is president of, but she's also a member of another party. How can she be a member of a party that she contests against? Tell me the logic behind that.
The Supreme Court reversed it. Oh.
No, if you actually read the Supreme Court judgment says, yes, she is a member of that party. Read it. And then she says, but she also has she still has political rights in another political party. I failed to understand that. Because Zanu-PF contested against Nelson Chamisa and Mnangagwa. How can Mnangagwa have interest in MDC Alliance and be a member of Zanu-PF? It defeats all logic. Because political parties, they are contenders. We contest against each other. So you can't be a member of this and that, but What's your content?
So what's the way forward from here, where we are, MDC Alliance and MDCT, they're two different parties?
MDC Alliance continues with these programs. We are a separate formation from any other formation. We have got our leadership, we've got our organs in place, and for us it's business as usual.
Is MDC Alliance a new party?
The MDC Alliance, okay, is an integration of formations, okay? It is a merger of formations.
So, is it a new party or no or yes?
I don't know what you mean by new. Can I tell you why? Would you say Zanu-PF is a new party?
No, it's a new party.
Precisely, okay? Because
so you're
politics,
no,
I'm just giving you an example of other political formations. You see, politics is dynamic. It is fluid. A year from today, there might be another political formation there, which is currently competing with us, which then is integrated within us. You can't say that that becomes new in that regard.
Okay, let's go to the issue of Mr. Jameson. What is he addressing his party members? Because some of them, they are hating on social media. And yesterday, Mr. Monzula, Mr. Coming, that they were saying that we are receiving insult messages, and this and that. What is he telling his...
President Chamisa at the moment is seized with the corona pandemic. He is coordinating our work with our various councils to answer to the challenges that have been brought to the country by COVID and the pandemic. This is why you see me sitting here. The president is busy attending to issues that matter, which means the livelihoods of the people of Zimbabwe.
And the political issue, what is he saying about it?
You are discussing with me the political issue. You've heard the discussions have been held with Professor Ngube. The discussions have been held with Vice President Biti. The president is busy with the pandemic.
So he's not even moved with the Supreme Court ruling?
No, he's not.
Which he challenged in the Supreme Court?
Yeah, he is not, because he's not party to that. As I explained to you, he's not...
He's not party to that. Why did he challenge the High Court ruling?
We challenged that ruling because of the confusion in the judiciary about this political formation. The same confusion that you are exhibiting yourself exists in the judiciary. And we do not want anything that would stand in the way of the Congress that we were holding at Ascot. That was the reason.
Right. In your last words to the people of the masses who support MDC Alliance.
I'm urging our members and our supporters to stay calm and understand that in this struggle, the fight and the opponent that we are dealing with is vicious, but we are up to the game ourselves to confront him, and that we should not be distracted by the actions of Zanu-PF and its acolytes.
Thanks for coming.